All you deep thinking herb lovers, I'm Brett the Herbalist, and today I'm here with another episode of The Secrets of Herbal Healing. And today we've got a really interesting topic, which is a seasonal one because we're coming into winter here in New Zealand, but this is applicable around. And it's the top foods for boosting your immune system. And I've got a sample of one of those foods here at the moment. And this is a huge bowl of shiitake mushrooms. And yeah, we're going to share about what the ingredient is in mushrooms that makes them so powerful for your immune system. This is going to be really interesting. Cool. So, as usual, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to talk through the top foods for boosting your immune system. Here we go. All right. So, there's a bit of a snapshot of some of the foods there. It's well known that boosting your immune system is the best way to prevent severe infection of almost anything, really, bacteria, virus, any kind of infectious disease. And so we also know that pharmaceutical drugs, antibiotics, vaccines, and that sort of thing are not always that effective, and they're not the only solution that's available. And so it's really important as thinking people to utilize what we've got available, which is our food and some herbs, which we're going to go into next time in more detail. But today it's about the food. And so here's a really interesting one: wasabi and also mustard. So wasabi and mustard have similar effects on the respiratory system. And wasabi's got a compound in it called allyl-isothiocyanate, which is really difficult to say. But it's obviously, when you take wasabi or hot mustard, that it has an effect on your membranes and it makes your eyes water. And so this is what it does to our membranes. It causes the secretions to happen. And of course, that film, that secretion that our membranes make is very, very protective. And they also possess strong antimicrobial properties. So they help fight the bacteria. And so that's really, really important as well. So yeah, be generous with the wasabi, and the hot mustard is the thing. You've got to get, the one that makes your eyes water almost to get the real benefits. And here's the mushrooms. So we just shared about the shiitake mushrooms. Is a really, really good one. It's used in traditional Chinese medicine as a herbal medicine, but you can make it your own mushroom soup, or just have mushrooms in your salad, or just have them in general. And mushrooms have a compound in them called beta glucans. And what beta glucans do is they boost the immune system. So they help increase the body's immune function. They help to regulate the immune system. So if you're overreacting to something, it helps to modulate that. And they also have anti-cancer effects. So the beta glucans in mushrooms are super powerful medicine that you've got right there in your kitchen cupboard, or probably in your fridge. And here's another one. This is really fascinating: coconut oil. So coconut oil creates, again, it's that membrane shield, so it helps protect you from the pathogens coming in. But there's also a compound in coconut oil called lauric acid. And as far as I know, and the research I've done, is this is the only really food source of lauric acid. And lauric acid helps the production of what they call interleukins and helper T cells, which are responsible for instructing the immune system. So isn't this interesting? If you cook your mushrooms in coconut oil, then you're going to get the benefits of both, right? So it's a fantastic idea. It's known to reduce intestinal bacteria infections, and its effective against Staphylococcus, which is also a powerful bacterial infection. So coconut oil, what a fantastic food to use. Now, here's another interesting one. This is a really common food, and I'm sure we've all used this or use this on a regular basis. But again, when you chop the onion and that effect that comes off, the oils that come off it, and they make your eyes water, well, that's just like the mustard in the horseradish. wasabi that we talked about earlier. So it stimulates the immune system, it stimulates the response, and it helps produce that mucus coating on your membranes, which is protective. And it's a powerful anti-inflammatory. And that's because onions contain quercetin, which is an anti-inflammatory. So it also stimulates here you can see the T cells, lymphocyte, helper cells, and the total white blood count significantly. So that means it's really increasing your immune response, which is fantastic. So something I use onions for quite often is childhood asthma. And you just chop up the onions and put it into some honey. And we'll talk about honey in a minute. So onions and honey together, it's a super powerful medicine for irritated lungs, for asthma in particular. And most children will take it with honey. So there's a little sort of a home remedy to use. And it's far better than, continually using steroid or inhalers and stuff like that. Lemons. So another really common food. And this is when we get to honey, you'll realize that you put these things together, the honey, the lemons, the garlic, these sort of foods, you put them all together. Ginger, which we'll talk about in a minute. So lemons, it's a really good base for making a lot of these home remedies, is to have sliced lemons, soak them in water, or even just add them to your tea, or put lemon juice on your food, whatever way you can. So we know it's a source of vitamin C, which helps your immune system, but it's also rich in a compound called naringenin, which has demonstrated activity against viruses. So that kind of makes sense when you think about it. It's a traditional home remedy for a cold, is honey and lemon ginger tea, for example. And in fact, I don't have the link to that right here, but I've seen research showing that doctors have concluded that it's probably one of the best remedies in the world for the standard influenza virus is honey, lemon, ginger tea, against all other opportunities that are around in the pharmaceutical world. So there you go, just a classic, simple home remedy. And here's the honey. And you probably know about Manuka honey. That's a great honey in New Zealand that's been shown to be really antimicrobial. And there's another one in New Zealand called rewa rewa, which is a bush honey, which is similarly antimicrobial. But we talked about enzymes last week, and it was interesting when I was researching it to discover that honey is so rich in enzymes. So it helps your whole digestive mucous membrane, the whole digestive process, reduces inflammation. And of course, they say honey, a spoonful of honey helps the medicine go down, or sugar, but honey is the one, not sugar, to use. And of course, it's a great base. So your honey and lemon, and you can mix these other herbs into it. So next week, when we talk about the herbs in more detail, you'll see that there's this opportunity to use these things all together as home remedies, including this one, garlic. You might think these are really common and, we should all know about them. But in fact, we actually utilize these things as a medicine in our homes before we go rushing off to the pharmacy and start popping, painkillers and things like that, or getting antibiotics, for example. We should be using these first, because if we can ward off the common colds or the viruses, even the more severe things like COVID's been around. If you boost your immune system, then you're far less likely to get severe symptoms. And, if you haven't had a vaccine, and maybe then you really need to keep that immune system up. And this is really the primary approach. That's the approach I use. So garlic is got sulfur compounds in it, and those sulfur compounds are well known as, in fact, the most common antibiotics are sulfur-based antibiotics. So it makes sense when you think about garlic. It's so rich in sulfur. So we couldn't list all of the immune boosting functions of garlic because there's so many, and there's literally thousands of studies that have been done on garlic. So we've just linked you to a couple here. And I should remind you, if you want to dig in and go a bit deeper with the research, look at the barcode in the top corner there, the QR code, scan that, and then you can go straight to this page, and that'll give you links to all the research if you want to dig into it. And it's really fascinating. Knowledge is real power when you learn this stuff. you really feel empowered to use it. That's the key. So look at all the stimulating effects of garlic. Just incredible. And by the way, I recommend using raw garlic. Cooked garlic is great for cardiovascular health, but raw garlic is much better for immune, stimulation. So the sulfur compounds are still much more alive when they go into your body that way. So just a little tip. Raw garlic, and I also recommend using like 6 cloves a day if you really want to get that going on. And we'll talk in a minute about this little remedy here, actually. It's the garlic, silver, and honey protocol. So if you got access to colloidal silver, which is like a natural antibiotic, and you'll find that on this page as well, is you can combine that with garlic and honey. And what I suggest doing is, you'll see here the steps, is getting the 6 cloves of garlic and then chopping them up into small pieces and mixing them into a little honey. You can microwave the honey just for 10 seconds and it makes it go soft. Or if you've got nice liquid honey, just mix the garlic into that. And then you take it with shot glasses of colloidal silver. And so I suggest taking about 100 mils of really good colloidal silver with your 6 cloves of garlic and a couple of teaspoons of honey, and doing that 2 or 3 times a day. And that's a fantastic remedy for the common cold. And if you've got a tickle in your throat, in the back of your throat, or you've got an itchy nose or something, take this straight away, instantly, and then do it for the next 2 or 3 days, and you shouldn't see much more of a manifestation of your cold. So that's a little remedy of mine that it always seems to work. Elderberries. So elderberries are often used as a base in herbal medicine. So you can make a syrup or a cough mixture or a tonic using elderberries as a sort of like a nice sweet base. But the elderberries are antiviral, and so they're known to reduce the severity of the most common viruses. So if you've got access to elderberries, if you know where someone are growing or someone that's got elderberries, then I highly recommend using them, because they're one of the best antiviral herbs that you can use as a food. And here we've got chili pepper. So you're probably quite familiar with the effect of chili pepper, how it causes, again, it makes your eyes water, it makes the membranes secrete, but it's also known as a powerful anti-inflammatory. So it's known for relieving pain and inflammation. And it's something people don't often think of. For example, if you've got a stomach ulcer, you can take the cayenne pepper because it's known to kill Helicobacter, which is the bacteria that causes stomach ulcers. And it's also known to kill the pain of an ulcer and to help the blood to come to the area and to heal the ulcer. And you would think, it's counterintuitive, you'd think chili pepper for a stomach ulcer, it doesn't sound right, but it's one of the best remedies for it. So I highly recommend it. And that's because it kills the bacteria. It's also known to be a cough suppressant. And it's because it's got this pain relieving, sort of almost like a numbing effect on the membranes in the throat. So using this, adding this to that remedy I just showed you before, adding some cayenne pepper to that, or any other cough mixture or remedy you're making, chili it up and you'll get more effect, more benefit. All right. And here's a recipe. This is one of my favorites, mushroom stroganoff. And you'll find some other recipes here on the page. So the Thai pumpkin soup, that's got a lot of the herbs in it. This one, the stroganoff, has got a lot of mushrooms in it. So it's got that benefit. So I'm going to make a soup with these shiitake mushrooms, add a ton of garlic in there, put some chili in there, the onions. You've got basically an immune building meal. So this is probably the best one I know of that you can add everything into. But there's some others here. The pumpkin soup, of course, that's really good. That's got all those ingredients in it too. The spicy carrot salad, which has got a lot of raw garlic in it. Turmeric latte. And so we'll talk about turmeric next time, and we'll go into some more herbs next time so that you've got more to play with. And I thought the last thing I'll talk about today is fasting. So we've talked about the food, and when you get sick, you feel unwell, you often go off your food. And it's quite common, and we sort of know this traditionally, historically, is that you'd often go on to, soup or just liquid broth when you're unwell. And there's a reason for that. And that's because the digestive process of breaking down food and assimilating it and going through your liver and everything requires so much metabolic energy to process everything and break it down that it saps your energy. And that's why the common term is rest and digest, like animals do when they have a meal. Cats, for example, animals will generally have a big meal and then they'll lie down and rest. So digesting food, what I'm getting to here, requires so much energy that it takes energy away from your immune system. And so if you go on a fast, it gives the energy back to your immune system, and it allows your immune system the metabolic energy that it requires. But not only that, it means that your immune system is not tied up trying to sort out and clear away all the unwanted things that come in the body with food. And so those immune cells and the immune, network, I guess you'd call it, is now available to focus on pathogens or infections of some kind. And so fasting has been proven to increase the immune function to such a degree that it can actually reset the immune function if there's like autoimmune problems going on, such as with irritable bowel or Crohn's or sometimes arthritis, various autoimmune problems. So it helps to regulate the immune system and reset the immune system. And there's a mechanism behind that called autophagy. And you may have heard of this. And what happens there is when you're fasting, more energy is available to the immune system, go through and clean itself up, and clean the cells internally of debris and waste, because we have this internal cellular garbage that accumulates over our lives. So it can clean all that up. It helps to get the clearer immune responses and better presentation of what the immune system is supposed to be functioning on. And so you get a much clearer, better immune response. So what I suggest doing is eating a lot of those foods, and we'll talk next week about the herbs because it's good to use a lot of herbs as well. But then having a period of eating less and less and less, and maybe having a day or two of fasting. And although this full autophagy reset can take 3 to 5 days, doing a short fast of 24 to 48 hours during an infection, has the same effect. That it'll give your immune system a lot more power to focus on fighting the infection. So I hope you found that really helpful today. And next week we'll go on to the herbs, and this will be a lot of fun. So thanks again for watching today, and I hope that you feel inspired to get into those foods and give it a go, because there's so much you can do and it's so available to you. And really, it's just a matter of making the effort and being quick about it. Don't delay, don't wait 24 hours, 48 hours for things to, advance in your body. Act quickly, get into the foods, get into the herbs. And I would say within 6 to 12 hours, if you act fast, you should nail it in, straight away, nip it in the bud, so to speak. So, all right, take care and look after yourselves and your families.